Hello YouTube, it is Championdjk coming at you again with another video, and today I've got a quick one for you, but a very cool one to look at. It is the Lamborghini Miura P400 from Tomica Limited Vintage. That's right, Tomica has gone Lamborghini in the Limited Vintage line, or Limited Vintage Neo line, and very, very cool. There's some Lambos that are coming out. We're starting with the Miura. This is in red, kind of a reddish orangish. There'll be this one in red. There's going to be another one coming out in yellow. And then we're going to go Countach, I think the LP 400. And then the 25th anniversary Countach is going to follow up that one. So we're going to start to see a rash of Lamborghinis from Tomica Limited Vintage. Very, very cool. Have not been this excited for Tomica Limited Vintage since we started seeing Ferraris. And now we're going to have Ferraris and Lamborghinis. And they're not done putting out Ferraris. I don't know if there's any new castings that are coming out, but there are some different colors of different stuff that are coming out. But this thing blew me away when it first came out. I had to have one. So glad I picked one of these things up. The details are just immaculate. If you guys are familiar with the Tomica Limited Vintage line, you know what I'm talking about. And these ones are more expensive than your standard ones. However, they are more detailed in the fact that they do have opening features. All of the Ferraris, I believe, had some sort of opening feature. And I have an example, I think, of every casting so far that they've put out in Ferrari. I don't have all of the Ferraris and all the colors, but I definitely have an example of all the castings. I do have all the F40s that they put out. That is one casting. I will definitely get any of them that they come out with. So here is the first Ferrari that was released in the Tomica Limited Vintage line. It's significant because now we're into Lamborghinis. And like the Ferraris, they come in this kind of special packaging. It is a square box, and I'm just going to take a look around the sides here. You can tell what color it is. There's a dot right there. Well, of course, also the graphic on the box. I like what they did with the box, a white background. I think that looks pretty good. On the Ferrari boxes, they were a black background. The one cool thing about the Ferraris, though, is they had some foil printing. That is absent in this release. We don't have that. But just a quick peek around the box. It does look pretty good. We can take a look at the back of the box where we have official Lambo licensing. Lamborghini's not new to Tomica. They've put out a lot of the basic Tomica Lamborghinis they've put out. They've also put out in their Tomica Premium line, they've put out quite a few Lamborghinis in that line as well. So it's not, Lamborghini and Tomica have obviously had some sort of relationship for quite a while, unlike really Ferrari. Ferrari was more of a newer development when this came out, and there were some Tomica basics that came out and all that stuff. So that's one difference there. But let's go ahead and, without further ado, let's check this model out. So we can tell right away by this image that we do have the option of adding side mirrors. And I've spoken about this before, about Tomica Limited Vintage. I am not a real big fan of adding my own pieces and parts to Diecast after purchasing them. That's kind of an irritation to me, to be honest. Okay, I don't want to detract from the excitement of the model. However, not a fan of this particular philosophy here. And then on the other side here, we can see that it's got opening features. And I'm sure some of this, it's got an opening boot and bonnet. And I'm sure that this probably explains that. And this probably explains that. But, of course, I cannot read Japanese. I do not know how to read it. And at this point in my life, I probably never will know how to read it. But there you go. Probably some stuff about Lamborghini there. So it comes with this little card here. It's plain on one side. It's got that on the other side. I don't know exactly what any of this means. Again, but that is okay. Sorry, I have to take breaks to take drinks of water. My throat's a little scratchy. But yeah, so there you go. And then the vehicle is nestled in this little two-piece thing, which I'll pull out. And then here's the bottom of the box. Here's your side mirrors. Kind of like a model kit. Take those off. And then we have some sort of documentation down here. I don't know what this is either. So there's that. All right, and then on to the model itself. Again, it's in this little plastic, two-piece plastic thing. It's got like a weird, I'm not sure what that's for. I don't know if I've ever seen that on the back of these. Some cellophane on the back here. I don't know if that's to kind of make sure this holds shape. I'm not really sure. And then as we pull it out like that, and there's that. And then here's the model. It's in some cellophane paper. And here we go. So here we have it in red. It's kind of a reddish orange. I don't know. I'm really bad at red color, trying to determine like what shade it is. It's a red though. And it looks really good. I love how detailed those wheels are. We'll zoom in on them in a minute. But just a quick look around the car. So of course we got inserted details for the taillights. I'm excited to see this when it comes out in yellow. The detail on the back here will pop a lot more on a yellow car than it will on a red car. And then these kind of famous weird lights that the front of this car had kind of look like eyelashes above it. We'll kind of zoom into that in a second as well. But yeah, really good overall first impression. And it's to be expected from this car because these are not cheap. Here's the base. So the interesting thing too is like the Ferrari line and now the Lamborghini line, they don't have like an LVN like casting number. Yeah, see, this doesn't have a casting number. Most of the time they do. Almost all the other Tomica Limited Vintage and Limited Vintage Neo cars do have like a tooling number. These Lamborghinis and I guess the Ferraris don't. I guess the Lamborghinis are not going to either. And of course we got opening features here, so let's just see how those work. We got an opening engine cover, and then an opening front area as well with what looks to be a spare tire in the front. Some suspension components. Pretty good details in there. Just black in there, not much detail as far as different color inside the interior. But you do, I don't know if you could see that in the steering wheel, there's some silver on the actual middle of the steering wheel. So there is some other details in there that are pretty hard to see just because of the, how tiny they are. And but the glass, though, is very, very clear. The plastic that makes up the glass windshield, very, very clear. You can definitely see through that really well. Let's try to get some close-up shots of this. I don't know how well we're going to be able to get, how close we're going to be able to get with some detail here, but we will attempt it. Attempt to focus. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I do eventually have to get a new camera here, and we'll maybe be able to see some more detail, but that looks pretty good. It's not quite as sharp as I would want it to be. But you can definitely see that there's a lot of detail in those wheels. Again, we can peek underneath here, and you can see that engine there. Really cool. Lots of good detail. Let's take a look at her here again. Again, lots of fantastic detail in there. The cool thing about it having opening parts, now I don't always like opening parts, and the reason is because you can always tell there's opening parts when the parts are shut. But these snap shut really well, and the gaps are there, but they're not pronounced, which is absolutely fantastic. Let's see, take a look at the headlights. Headlight detail looks great. Looks quite excellent. So, yeah, I'm definitely digging this model. I think it looks very, very cool. You'll have to tell me if you think it's worth the money. That's going to be a question, of course. Now, there's other brands that have come up with the Miura in the past that have come up with some pretty good ones. There's been, of course, even the Matchbox. When you get a Matchbox Premium, Miura has been pretty good. Even the basic Matchbox Miura is pretty awesome. And, of course, the basic one you're looking at, I don't know. Well, depending on when you could have got one. If you would have got one when they came out, it would have been just $1. You got your Tomica Premium Miuras. That's pretty good. If you go to Kyosho's got some decent-looking ones, and I think you can find those fairly cheaply. So there is that. There's that factor in there. But I think this model is definitely significant because it's the first Tomica Limited Vintage Lamborghini, and I'm so happy that there's going to be more to come. I can't wait for the Countach. Any Countach that they do, I'm going to be super stoked about. I really hope they actually do a Diablo. I really want them to do like an Espada or something like off the wall a little bit too. I think that would be really cool. So I hope that those are coming. We shall see. Only time will tell. But before this one, I think the only accurate one you could really get was the Kyosho. And that one you can still find, I think, those pretty reasonably priced on eBay. I haven't looked for one in a while, maybe not, but I don't know. You can check them out if you want a cheaper alternative. This, I will tell you right off the bat, is, in the U.S. anyway, it's close to $60 for this model. And then, of course, you have to pay shipping on top of that. Now, the only thing is they're going to re-release this in red, right? So this is limited. It's truly limited to however many they made for this release, which they don't publish the numbers, so you don't really know. But in the U.S., they are a little bit tougher to get because they're not distributed here. You have to buy them from an overseas seller typically. And, yeah. So if you want it, again, you got to get them right away. You're never going to really get one, I think, any cheaper than what it initially launches for. So they are really expensive. You guys let me know if you think that's worth it down in the comments below. It was the same price basically as what this one was when this one came out. I think that these have probably gone up in price by now. I haven't looked at them on eBay in a while, but I'm guessing that they have. You guys let me know in the comments down below. Do you think that this is worth it? What do you think about it? It's a pretty cool model. I gotta say, I am pretty stoked about it. I'm glad to have it in my collection and glad I didn't wait on it or anything like that. Got to find room in the display case for it. Got to find room in the display case for the upcoming Lambos. They're all going to be kind of pricey, so it is what it is. Might have to, sell some stuff to afford them. We'll see what happens. I do need to part with some stuff. All right. You guys let me know. Thank you guys very much for watching. Stoked on this model again. Thanks again. Have a good one.